Hey, my name is Douglas Thompson. I'm an airsoft gun tech, and this is actually a gas blowback AR-15 or M4 style weapon I got a hold of. Used actually just, I think, a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. It's a GMP walk, upper and lower. It's got a, what is it called? Some PD. Oh, well, that's what type of rail it is. PWS MK112. It's a pretty nice rail system, actually. I'm actually gonna sell this gun in the near future. It has a couple of problems. It just needs a new piston for the inside the bolt carrier, and it needs a trigger guard. That's pretty much all it needs. But today I'm going to show you how to maintain, or basic maintenance, on this gun here and any gas blowback M4 pretty much. So there's going to be a couple little parts that are broken, that don't look right. Ignore that. Just focus on I guess what I'm doing. So first of all, we're going to need to take these two pins. Let's move this thing. Take these two pins here and here, and I actually have a RA Tech magic pin that just fell out because I loosened it. This is a magic pin, so if you have any loose or wobbly upper and lower receivers, you can get a hold of one of these. I shaved one side down so it would fit in the front, next to where it would normally, fit, like, because one side's always, one side's always squared off. They're pretty cool. I think they're like what is it, I don't know, like 10, anywhere from 10 to, I've seen them for $30. But we'll throw them in a little capture device, and the GMPs actually have detents in them. So normally, if you're working with a GMP and then a lot of other, I got sunburned. That's a stain from building a table. I played Airsoft last Saturday. Look at that. You can't really tell, but burns. So you want to take both pins out for when you do this and separate them completely. We can go over some areas to clean and also to inspect. Now, this bolt carrier is, the previous owner had sanded it down, and in real life it looks a lot worse than in this because it looks pretty decent, actually. I'm looking at it through the phone I'm recording on. It actually looks pretty decent, but so I'll show you that in a second. We'll get to that. These two things aside, I guess we'll start with the lower receiver. Why not? So some things that you can clean out, and that's actually unnecessary. I was trying to get it down in there a little bit further, but it didn't really work out. So some things that you can clean out. A lot of people neglect their buffer and their buffer spring. This is something I like to do. It's not really entirely necessary. I don't think a lot of people even do this at all, but it's something I would do, and it's good. It's for peace of mind. So we'll throw this aside really quick, and so we'll get a paper towel. Get a couple paper towels, so I don't have to get off screen, every 5 seconds. And you can just like tear off a little piece for this, and just clean your buffer, whatever type of buffer you have. If you have a plastic one, metal one, doesn't matter. Just clean it off as good as you can. And look at it, already looks way better. I'm about to sneeze, so I apologize if it's loud. So what I like to do is put all my clean parts in one location so I know that they're clean. And so in this case it's in a little metal thing. This is something that you can do to all springs, and so you can see this is a pretty clean paper towel. And so I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to hold it like on both sides and rotate it. Actually, once you get past here, getting past that little sharp port, and rotate it in the direction to make it go away from you. And this one might not be that bad because I did clean this when I first got it. But like after yesterday, I ran. I got 2 of these yesterday. One was a Magpul receiver with a. I installed a Knight's Armament. I'll show you that in another video. A Knight's Armament front quad rail from an AEG. Actually, I'm not sure if it fit on all the way entirely, but it worked good enough for using it for a whole day. It didn't malfunction any. And once you get to the end here of the spring, kind of switch to the other side so you can get all the way to the end. And see, actually, this one's actually pretty clean. But the buffer spring I cleaned yesterday from running my gun all day. It was both my hands were completely black. The whole paper towel was black. Like it was pretty dirty. But this one is actually really clean. So then we'll set this aside, and you can actually take the lower receiver again, and actually you can get in there, not too deep, but if you can, as you know, cleaner is better than, you know, not as clean. So I mean, it's actually not too dirty. This is a relatively new gun, even though, you know, it has some beat up features. I bought this as a donor gun initially, so I bought it to, if there was any parts wrong or missing on my other GMP, I was going to use this gun because it was a gun someone had built out of the GMP Challenge kit. So and then they said that they never got it working. So this stuff is like pretty much brand new. It's just, you know, it never got to see the light of day really. It does function. You know, there's a couple pieces missing, but everything works. Like I've tried semi and then auto, and everything works fine. I replaced the bolt catch assembly, and you know, tightened up the castle nut and little small things. Pistol grip was kind of wobbly, no big deal. Okay, so we can set this aside really. I mean, unless you want to lubricate the hammer and stuff. Like this is the surface that the bolt carrier rides across, so you know, normally it's in this position, you know, something like that, and then when the bolt carrier slides back, it locks into the rearward position, and then it actually slides into the buffer tube and pushes the buffer back and the buffer spring back. So this chair here, and so you can actually lubricate this surface right here, and that'll help. And there should also be what's it called, an auto lock. I can't remember what the piece is called, but there's a piece that lies right here. You can see that the pin's missing. The piece that lies right here, and it actually connects to the back of the hammer right there, and it like locks it in place. I think it's for semi-automatic. I'm not sure, but it seems to work without it. So I'm not messing with it, at least for now. I do have it, and I'm planning on installing it, but for now it works. And this is the bolt carrier. I'm just going to give you a demonstration. Like, I'm not sure many people have seen this out of the receiver. And you can see how it actually hits. On the real gun, it would hit right here, and it would you know, allow the cartridge to fire. But actually on the Airsoft version, when it goes forward, it hits that little square thing right there, and that goes forward and hits the magazine valve. See that? There's a small spring inside this bolt catch assembly that allows that to return to position. Anyway, so you can lubricate this. So get a little. This is the type of lubrication I like to use, Ultra Lube. This is actually safe for plastic parts, I'm about to sneeze. It's been a long time coming, sneeze. I like to use this because it's compatible, not compatible, it's able to be used on plastic parts. I'm not sure about rubber. I don't recommend it for rubber because it doesn't say it's safe for it. But plastic, it's fine. But luckily, today we're going to be using it only on metal, so it's perfectly safe for that. So you want to go along the whole base of this hammer here, all the way down to where it hits in the firing pin. This is basic maintenance. If I had this gun completely apart, I would lubricate every part that moves or makes contact with one another. But this is something you can just do once you have the gun complete and it's like all lubricated up. You can see it's not a very large amount, but it's enough to matter. You can also lubricate if you have wear on top of your bolt carrier or your bolt catch assembly. You can throw some on there, just a little bit. Help it slide back and forth if it touches it on your gun. And get a little bit, so put a little bit on your finger of whatever lubrication you have that is actually lubricant and not WD-40 or because WD-40 is not a lubricant. And then, as I've discovered, silicone oil is not a good lubricant at all. It's just does not work as a lubricant. You can actually get inside the buffer. And this helps a lot more if you have a metal buffer. This particular one has a plastic buffer. But get down there as far as you can, because there's actually a lot of your bolt carrier actually goes in there quite a bit. I'm not sure if it goes back as far as a real steel when it's actually cycling, but it does go back quite a bit. So you can take your buffer as well, and primarily it's going to be touching on the sides here. You don't need to worry about the rest of the buffer, just pretty much the head and then the front of the head. Put that on your buffer spring. I'm sorry if I'm kind of doing this off. Make sure it's locked. Off to the side here because I'm actually used to working like I'm looking at the phone or the camera, and then it looks to me like it should be over here. So I'm trying to keep in the center here. So at this point, this portion of your basic, cleaning and lubrication, this part of it on the lower receiver will be done. You can choose to lubricate like other parts that are moving, but really what I like to focus on is parts that the bolt is moving across or interacting with. Okay, so we'll take our charging handle and our bolt carrier now. Move this out of the way for a second. And we'll take a piece of paper towel. We don't want to wipe the entire bolt off, bolt carrier. If this were like a brand new bolt, if this were a brand new bolt, I'd say like really clean the inside where the piston goes back and forth inside. But since this is assembled, and most likely unless you have debris inside the piston area, you're pretty good to go. Now this is a pretty low quality bolt, so there's a lot of wear from some of the parts like the bolt catch and stuff. And let's see how we're doing here. It's looking pretty good. I'm not sure you could tell from the thing, but it looks a lot less greasy than it did before. You can get a little bit of the piston. As you can see, there's a piece missing right here, the guide, but it actually runs without it, so surprisingly. A lot of the things on airsoft guns are kind of precautionary, like just to make sure something works. That's why everyone's like, you don't need that piece, like why is it even there? Like, it's just there to help in case things do go wrong. But you can kind of get in here with your pinky. Let's see how dirty this is. Not bad. You can get in there further, but it doesn't, it doesn't really need to. But you can get like a Q-tip You can get in there a little bit better. Kind of swirl it around like you're stirring up like a bowl of chocolate. Not sure why you'd be doing that. A little bit. Okay, so this would be pretty clean. So at this point, if you have a bolt carrier that hasn't been sanded down, you'd actually be able to see points of contact where it's scraping inside of your receiver, your upper receiver, and also on the lower portions. But those parts in particular, you'd want to lubricate, and pretty much the rest of it you don't need to, but it's just like a just in case kind of thing. So you'd want to do the sides, and you can take a little bit and then spread it just to get it, put a nice even coat where you see the most contact or most wear on your bolt carrier, and just kind of give it like an even coat. Doesn't have to be super thick because again, when it's inside the receiver, it'll spread to the points it needs to, and then it'll also just help the cycle of the gun. Like, so if you have a gun that's just kind of like not cycling well, it's probably just a little bit dirty, more than likely. Or if you have a new bolt carrier that you're just trying out and it's not cycling well, chances are it's too large for the upper receiver, or it's catching on something and you need to sand something down. With gas blowbacks, there's a lot more modification that needs to take place when you get aftermarket parts. You're lucky if you don't have to what's called, well, at least I'm familiar with it being called hard modify or hard mod, if you want to be a fancy pants, your parts, and just kind of sand it down and give it a little bit of TLC. It's not a... Okay, that's pretty good. You can also at this point not wash your hands, but wipe your hands off. You can put a silicone oil if you have like this kind of stuff. You can put a little bit of that inside of your piston here. I like to put it directly on the piston head O-ring and kind of work that in there so it kind of spreads around. But the most important part is to get it on the O-ring, because that's the thing that dries out, and if it dries out you're going to get less compression, which means less feet per second. Wipe your hands off really quick. We'll set this bolt aside because this is ready to go, ready to throw in the gun. Now the charging handle, since I put the white lithium grease on the top of the bolt carrier right here, it will transfer to the charging handle, but you are going to be, it's going to be riding along the top of the charging handle a lot, because it's not a reciprocating, the charging handle does not go back and forth with the bolt like with some guns, so it's going to be staying stationary. This part right here locks into the upper receiver right here, and it stays stationary. So when the bolt's traveling, you could probably tell my arm is red there, huh? Let's see, I can't really tell. When the bolt's traveling, it's kind of inside here, so you can tell like there's actually quite a bit of wear that occurs, and quite a bit of metal to metal rubbing. So you actually can lubricate this part, and this is something I would recommend like a Q-tip for. So you get a little dab in there, and then you can spread it with a Q-tip here. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just enough to cover the whole bit. And you can actually get this on the top of the whatever you have as a remainder, or you can spread it with your finger. No big deal either way. You can see there's a lot of wear right there. That could have just been from the previous owner where he had to sand it, or it could just be because it actually rubs on the upper receiver. So just get a nice coating on there, and all the excess will move aside, so it's not a huge deal if you put a little bit too much on there. Don't worry about it. So this is good to go. And we'll set this aside now. Now we're going to grab our upper receiver, and I'll show you some key points to clean. As you can see, it's worn down quite a bit where the bolt carrier travels. It should be, you know, like it should be this color. Usually from the factory, they paint the inside of it. If you have like a really good upper receiver, it might be anodized, like aluminum. But most of the upper receivers are just cheap metal, and they're going to be relatively low quality and painted, which is unfortunate. But because you pay, they charge like, you know, $100 something for a set of receivers. So I don't know, you're paying for the shape pretty much. You're not really paying for the quality of the materials, unfortunately. With real steel parts, you know, you're paying for quality of the materials, but you're also paying for just the, you know, patents and stuff, like, you know, because it's someone's design. That's why they charge a lot for these things. But just get in there as best you can. I'm sorry, I'm off camera again. I'm used to doing this. I'm not looking at the camera. Just get in there as best you can and just make sure everything's as clean as possible. If you have smaller hands, I have smaller hands, it's a lot easier to get in there and perform some of these things. But just get it to where, like, you know, you're comfortable and you can, you know, it's presentable. Like, you could show someone and be like, hey, look at this, you know. That's the level of cleanliness you want it to get to. You can wipe off outside too. You're going to want to do this afterwards because it's going to be super greasy. Okay, so we're going to also need a cleaning and unjamming rod, like this. And what I like to do is cut out little chunks of paper towel, like ahead of time, and I stack them on top of each other sometimes, depending on how tight the bore is, the inner diameter of the barrel. Just thread that in there like a needle and thread. And for this particular gun, it's a pretty large bore. It's a stock barrel, so I think it's like 6.05, 6.08, something like that. You can kind of wrap it around it ahead of time, but it'll happen inside the barrel anyway. You want to kind of do a twisting motion. Some people would not recommend doing this because it kind of twists your inner, or puts stress on the inner barrel, and makes it to where, like, if you have like a really loose connection, it might, you know, throw the barrel a little bit out of place. But my barrel is properly installed, so I shouldn't have a problem. So I'm pushing a little bit of time very gently and then twisting. So it's kind of like going like this inside the barrel, spinning. I'm about to sneeze again. Bad allergies, and I also inhaled a bunch of smoke today from a fire we, you know, like a little campfire. You're going to want to look until you get to the outside of your inner receiver. And again, some people would recommend not doing this because if your bucking is, you know, popping out quite a bit, you can tear it. But I like to do it to know that the entire barrel has been cleaned. So that's the tip of it right there. So now you're going to want to work your way out and do it in reverse motion. You can go the same twisting, the same way. So I'm pulling gently as I'm twisting outwards, you know, this way, or this way. And let's see how dirty this inner barrel is. I did clean this, I think, but it's... No, I haven't shot this gun, so I'm not sure if I cleaned this barrel, but we'll find out in like 5 seconds here. You can feel it getting shorter, right? Not bad. But you definitely don't want that in your gun. If you run biodegradable BBs, you're gonna have a lot more. There's like a layer of film that you collect during normal usage. Like one day, you know, if you run like 1,000 rounds to your gun, you're gonna have a pretty decent film. Okay, so at this point, yeah, I'm sorry to set that aside. Your upper receiver is cleaned. You cleaned the inner barrel and the upper receiver. Really good, I might add. Actually looks really good in there. You can put a little bit extra lubrication inside here You can put it directly on the thing or in your finger. Kind of. Excuse me. I apologize. I'm getting more and more allergic as I'm out here for some reason. But go along the sides where the bolt travels, and you can also go from the back, and that would be good. You can see in there it's a good layer of lubrication. Now you take your bolt carrier and your charging handle and you just kind of stack it on top of there. Throw it inside the upper receiver gently. Do that clicks there, and then this will go all the way forward. So that's good. And close this up. And at this point you can attach your lower receiver to your upper receiver. And you're going to want to cycle the gun. And then normally you wouldn't have to look for your pin if it was a G&P one, as long as you installed it properly. This magic pin has to be lined up in more ways than most. So this pin actually, sorry, I'm off camera again. If I grab where's that tool? There's like a little hex tool at the end of it, and when you screw this in, it doesn't screw on the other side. It actually expands. Actually, I can just show you. Since it's in 3 pieces, I'm gonna set this aside for really quick. When you tighten this screw, it actually goes like this inside your receiver. So if you have a sloppy or wobbly receiver, you can actually fix that. It doesn't fix it like 100%, but it does make it a lot better towards the front. So right now, you can see wobbles. Now let me show you after I tighten it. Okay, as you can see, it's already not wobbling much. Don't do it super tight. You don't want to damage anything. And no wobbles. So, I mean, you could conceivably put one in the back too, because there's a little bit of wobble in the back too. It's not letting me wobble it, but so you want to check the cycle of your gun at this point. Feels very smooth. And I don't like to dry fire, so you can actually put your finger inside here and pull the trigger so like you let the firing pin down safely. It won't hurt. And then that little pin right there would pop forward, but I didn't allow that. Okay, so that's actually the basic maintenance for the M4 gas blowback. So there are slightly different designs out there, but for the most part, that's going to work for all your gas blowback M4s. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Leave in the comments below, and hopefully you learned something from this. Thank you.